So today we're diving into a really cool modern parable called The Calculus of the Empty Throne. It's this incredible story that pits pure cold logic against, well, the very essence of what it means to be alive. It's all about power, purpose, and the staggering price of perfection. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so picture this. The story kicks off in a world where the world tree, this ancient symbol of life and connection, is literally being choked out by frost. This isn't just some random snowy setting. It's telling us right away that something is deeply, fundamentally wrong. A sterile, perfect cold is taking over.
And that brings us to our first section, a world of perfect frost, because this is the stage for our whole story. We're on a mountain peak, one that's been unnaturally leveled, made perfectly flat, and it's here that two cosmic forces are about to have a major confrontation.
And this really lays out the core conflict, doesn't it? On one side, you have the Golden Shepherd. His very presence is like a warm wind, a threat to the nomad's sterile sky. And on the other side, there's the nomad, who's ripped out the organic flow of fire and life and replaced it with cold, pulsing chrome. It's the garden versus the monolith. It's poetry versus a cold, hard equation.
And there it is, the nomad's grand, absolutely chilling declaration. Think about that for a second. He's not just saying he's achieved something great. He's saying that life, with all its chaos and beauty and messiness, is nothing more than a math problem, and he's solved it.
So how in the world do you solve existence? What does that even mean? Well, in this next part, we're going to break down the nomad's blueprint for his quote-unquote perfect universe, a place that's been stripped of everything he considers to be a mistake or a bug in the system. Just look at this process. Step 1, he tames chaos itself, represented by the mythical Zmei, with a simple blueprint. Next, he gets rid of what he calls inefficiency. Things like heat, passion, emotion. He sees them as just friction, a leak that needs to be plugged. And then, get this, the curved lines of human choice and free will? He sees them as rounding errors that need to be straightened out into these rigid avenues of necessity. The universe is no longer a story to be lived, it's just a proof to be calculated.
And how do you enforce this new reality? You create this thing, the Clockwork Priest. This isn't some follower, it's the literal embodiment of the nomad's will. Born from a dying star, its whole job is to go around preaching that meaning, purpose, all of it, it's just a ghost, an illusion for the ignorant. And the end result of all this is, well, it's devastating. In the nomad's world, why you do something is completely irrelevant. All that matters is how efficiently you do it. The very concept of purpose is erased. And things like grace, mercy, compassion, they're just luxuries for the weak, inefficiencies that get in the way of the cold, hard numbers of reality.
But the Golden Shepherd is not having any of it. He sees things completely differently, and his response, which we're about to explore, reveals the profound, essential light that's gone missing from the nomad's perfect, calculated world. The shepherd's comeback is so simple, but so powerful. He asks this one question. He's pointing out that all of the nomad's power, all these massive spires that pierce the heavens, they're totally meaningless. They're just tools, cold metal without a purpose, a life, a why to give them any meaning at all. And this is the shepherd's final judgment on the nomad's creation. The nomad thinks he's built this grand kingdom of light and reason, but the shepherd sees it for what it really is, a dead thing. A universe where every question has been answered has nothing left to live for. It's not a kingdom, it's a cosmic funeral.
This one quote just nails the heart of their disagreement. One of them looked at the universe and saw a living, breathing, beautifully chaotic garden. The other saw only variables to control, a system to optimize, turning life itself into a sterile, cold laboratory.
So what was the actual cost of this so-called perfection? Well, pretty much everything that matters. The poetry of existence, the grand story of the universe. The nomad dismisses things like mercy and justice as just taxes on the system. But the shepherd argues no, those are the essential light. They're the very things that keep a soul from completely shattering. And right here, the argument takes a fascinating turn. It shifts from the philosophical to the psychological. The shepherd suddenly realizes this whole cosmic project, it's not actually about intellect. It's about something way more personal and a lot more fragile. And this is the key. The shepherd sees what he calls the strategic paradox. All this power, this absolute control, this entire planetary fortress of logic, it wasn't built from a place of strength. Not at all. It was built because the architect, the nomad himself, felt small. The whole thing is just a massive act of compensation. Then the shepherd delivers this absolute killer line. He recognizes his own symbol inverted on the nomad's chest, worn as an act of defiance. And he realizes the nomad's entire identity is just a reaction to him. He isn't some new enlightened being, he's a shadow, a prisoner completely defined by the very light he was trying so hard to destroy. So in the end, that's all it is. The entire Clockwork universe, the impossibly tall spires, it's all just one giant overcompensation. They're built so tall only to try and mask this deep, lingering feeling of inadequacy. This entire world was built to the exact dimensions of one man's insecurity. And that brings us to the inevitable, tragic conclusion of the parable. As all the arguments and justifications fade away, the cold, hard reality of what the nomad has actually built and what he's lost finally starts to sink in. At the absolute height of his power, standing on the perfectly leveled peak of his brand new world, the nomad discovers a simple, undeniable physical truth. His perfect system has a fatal flaw. The air is too thin to breathe. His own creation can't even sustain him. And that just reveals the ultimate crushing irony of it all. In his quest to gain absolute control over everything, the only thing the nomad truly succeeded in building was a perfect prison for himself. He's trapped, not by some external enemy, but by the shadow of his own making. As the shepherd's warmth finally leaves, all the grand theories and loud declarations and massive structures, they all fade into silence. And in the end, stripped of all his power, the only thing that remains is that small, insecure feeling that started this whole thing, the whispering ghost of the man who felt less than.
And that really is the final lesson of The Empty Throne, isn't it? Intellect can seize a kingdom, logic and force can build empires of pure reason, but you can never, ever use an equation to solve for the fundamental, irrational, and absolutely essential needs of the human heart.